Good evening to all of you. On behalf of Indian Geotechnical Society, Bengaluru chapter, I welcome all of you for this prestigious Professor B.K. Ramaya Memorial Lecture, which is 29th in series that will be delivered by Professor R. Shivshankar. Before that, I would like to welcome our chief guest, Professor Anant Ramaswamy, who is the chairman of the Department of Civil Engineering, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Welcome you, sir, Professor.
Thank you.
I also welcome our speaker, Professor R. Shivashankar from National Institute of Technology, Surathkal. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
So on behalf of the Indian Geotechnical Society Bangalore chapter, I welcome all our chapter colleagues, friends, and there are many participants who have joined in spite of their busy schedule, who has taken time off to attend this lecture. Welcome one and all. At the outset, I also would like to welcome Professor Ramesh, who is son of B.K. Ramaya. It's indeed a great pleasure to have you with us, sir, on this occasion. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to give a brief introduction of Professor B.K. Ramaya, and then we will go to the next item. So Professor B.K. Ramaya graduated in civil engineering from Mysore University at University College of Engineering, Bangalore in the year 1946. He obtained MS in civil engineering at University of Connecticut, USA in 1956 and PhD from Purdue University, USA in 1959. He was one of the earliest PhD holders in India, fourth in Asia and seventh in the world. He served as a junior engineer from 1946 to 49, lecturer in civil engineering, Department of Civil Engineering, UVC Bangalore between 49 to 54, research assistant at University of Connecticut between 54 to 56, XR fellow at Purdue University 56 to 59. He was also the chief soil engineer during 59 and 60. He joined as a reader in civil engineering at University College of Engineering, Bangalore in 1960 and served as a professor and head of the department from 1963 onwards. Finally, towards 1971, he retired as the principal of UVCE Bangalore. He introduced soil mechanics or core for undergraduates at UVCE and started master's program in soil mechanics. Professor B.K. Ramaya established one of the largest civil engineering department at UVCE. He, in fact, established soil mechanics and foundation engineering, highway, airport, pavement design, and highway materials, and experimental stress analysis by photoelastic strain gauge and stress coat and model studies. He distinguished himself as a teacher and a researcher. Many of our very senior members of the chapter, like Professor Sridharan, Professor Subbarao, P.R. Srinivasmurthy, etc., who knew Professor B.K. Ramaya as a student or as a colleague, has told that he had the photographic memory. Professionally, he was a member of many national and international societies and academic committees. He has published more than 100 papers in India and abroad. He has organized the 5th Asian Regional Conference in Bangalore. He has traveled worldwide during his service. He has received several awards from Bangalore University, Mysore University, and Institution of Engineers. He served as the president of the Indian Geotechnical Society between 1977 to 79, and he founded the Karnataka Geotechnical Center, which is now renamed as the Indian Geotechnical Society Bengaluru chapter, and acted as its chairman since its inception in 1963. The Karnataka Geotechnical Center, which is currently IGS Bengaluru chapter of Indian Geotechnical Society, remembers with gratitude the yeoman service of the founding father of the Bangalore University and arranged with memorial lectures in 1992, and the first lecture was delivered in 1993. Indeed, today's lecture will be 29th in series, which will be delivered by Professor R. Shivashankar. So with this brief introduction of Professor B.K. Ramaya, now I call upon our chief guest, Professor Anant Ramaswamy, to say a few words. Over to you, Professor.
Good evening, everybody. On behalf of the Department of Civil Engineering, I take great pleasure in welcoming you all to this annual lecture, which has been held by in the memory of Professor B.K. Ramaya. I hope in better times we will have it in our auditorium where we have had it year after year for several years, and we will have the opportunity to have all of you visit our labs and other facilities. I extend a hearty welcome to all of you, and I request our speaker to make his presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Now I request our chapter colleague, Professor Vijayendra, to introduce the speaker. Over to you, Vijayendra.
Good evening, one and all. Here, it is my great pleasure to give brief introduction of my teacher, Professor R. Shivshankar, who was my teacher at NITK, and also he taught me a course on file foundation. Professor R. Shivshankar was a direct student of B.K. Ramaya Memorial, Professor B.K. Ramaya. And among the 28 previous speakers, we had few of them, like Professor R. Shivshankar, they were also direct student of Professor B.K. Ramaya. Now, it is my great pleasure to introduce Professor R. Shivshankar. He obtained his bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Bangalore University, that is University of Visvesvaraya College of Engineering. And as I mentioned, he studied his geotechnical engineering basic courses under Professor B.K. Ramaya, and obtained his master's degree in geotechnical engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Madras in 1980, and doctoral degree from Asian Institute of Technology, Bangkok in 1991. Then he continued his postdoctoral fellowship at the Institute of Lowland and Marine Research, Saga University during 92 and 95. Professor R. Shivshankar, who is serving as a professor currently at the Department of Civil Engineering, National Institute of Technology, Surathkal, held various administrative and academic positions at the institute, which include the chairman of the Center for Continuing Education between 2002 to 2008, then head of the Civil Engineering Department 2003 and 2006. Then he was Dean of Research and Consultancy for the period of 2007 to 2010. Then from 2011 to 2014, he was heading the Training and Placement Center of NITK. His areas of interest in geotechnical engineering includes soil behavior, particularly the lateritic soil, then the ground improvement, the slope engineering and landslides, the geosynthetic engineering, pile foundation, static and dynamic soil structure interaction studies, then forensic geotechnical engineering. Professor Shivshankar has so far successfully guided more than around 14 PhD candidates. Then he has guided more than 80 MTech theses and many BTech projects in the area of geotechnical engineering and allied fields. He has published more than 250 papers in national and international journals and conferences. He was coordinator for 5 sponsored projects, one being the dynamic soil structure interaction funded by Bureau of Research in Nuclear Sciences, Government of India. And Professor Shivshankar has widely traveled throughout the world, including USA, Italy, Australia, China, Japan, Ghana, Egypt, and so many other countries for the academic interactions and presenting the papers and keynote speaker as in the conferences and invited lectures. He has chaired many sessions during the national and international conferences. He is actively involved in geotechnical consultancies in and around Bangalore, successfully conducted the 10th International Seminar on Lowland Technology at Mangalore during September 2016. He is member of the Technical Committee TC107 on tropical soils and member of number of professional bodies. He has delivered several invited and keynote lectures. He is currently the chairman of Indian Geotechnical Society, Surathkal chapter. With this brief introduction, I have a pleasure in inviting Professor R. Shivshankar to deliver the 29th Professor B.K. Ramaya Memorial Lecture of the Indian Geotechnical Society, Bangalore chapter. Welcome you, sir. Over to
Thank you,
Professor
Professor Vijayendra. Thank you, Professor Vijayendra. Over to you, Professor. You can kindly share your screen, sir.
sharing.
A green button is there, sir.
ಅದು correct, but my mouse is jumping sort of, I don't know.
For all the participants, as this is a memorial lecture, we will not have any question and answer session. And there is a Google link form that has been posted on the chat box. Kindly fill up your details so that we will be able to share the recorded version of this link as well as the PPT.
Can you help me? I can't share my screen here.
So you have a green button there. You open the
Yeah, I have a
PPT.
green button.
You open the
Yeah,
PPT
but-
first, then go to the Zoom, click the green button, sir, then you'll see the file. Double click on the file, it will come. File open ಆಗಿದೆಯಲ್ವಾ sir?
File open ಇದೆ.
Then go
But
to
my-
Zoom ಅಲ್ಲಿ green button ಇದೆ ಸರ್. ಡೆಸ್ಕ್ಟಾಪ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ?
ಡೆಸ್ಕ್ಟಾಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಬಟ್ ದಟ್ ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಬಟನ್ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಮೌಸ್ ಇಟ್ಟರೆ ಅದು ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್. Maybe I'll rejoin.
Yeah, I think so, sir. You can just rejoin it. So for all the participants, kindly bear for this technical glitch. Professor is joining in a minute. So you can email me your PPT, then I can present from here. So you can speak, sir, if that is okay with you.
Yeah, let me try.
It's coming, sir. Started coming. Go to the presentation mode, sir. Over to you,
Okay, thank
Professor.
you.
Yeah, over to
Sorry.
you, sir. Yeah, no problem, sir. Over to you.
Thank you.
And take about 40 minutes to conclude, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry for the technical glitch. I'm very thankful to the organizers of the Bengaluru chapter of the Indian Geotechnical Society. What's happening? Dr. Vijendra, Dr. Parthasarathy, Professor Anant Ramasamy, and also Dr. Ramesh. My topic is studies on lateritic soils. We have been working on a number of topics, but the common thing in all of them, we have been doing both numerical and experimental studies. But the common thing in all of them has been laterites and lateritic soils. So I would like to talk about lateritic soils. I remember there have been many previous speakers who have been legendaries in geotechnical engineering. And also one of my earlier professors had talked on lateritic soils. I would like to pay my respects and humble homage to my teacher, Professor B.K. Ramaya. And he was my teacher during my undergraduate days. I would like to talk on definitions and occurrence of laterites. Laterites are formed by the influence of climate and geology. I'd like to briefly touch upon a little bit of that. Some properties of, sorry, it's not stable. Some properties of lateritic soils of this coastal area, laterites and lateritic soils, and some geotechnical practices and some erosion studies and electrical resistivity studies we had conducted here at NITK. Laterites are available in coastal areas of peninsular India and also northeast of India, and also some places and many places around the world. I happened to start my studies on lateritic soils during my stay at the Asian Institute in Bangkok. And subsequently here we did a lot of studies. And also I had an opportunity to review some papers on lateritic soils. It was a learning exercise for me because laterites are of different nature. What we call laterites here, our laterites are gravelly and sandy, but in other places, they are very fine grained and of clay fraction. It depends upon the parent rock and also the climatic conditions. So for us, laterite is a construction material, is a load-bearing material, but different people define differently in different areas and different professions. For example, the soil scientists define it based on the silica-alumina ratio. If it is less than 1.33, they call it as laterites. 1.33 to 2, they call it as lateritic soils, and more than 2 as non-lateritic soils. As I said, for us, it's based purely on a hard crust. Laterites, I want you to, when I talk of laterites and lateritic soils, I want you to understand the lateritic stratification in lateritic areas. Sorry. There is a top laterite crust. In between is what is called as LMC, the lithomargic clay, and below that is the parent rock. Laterites are products of chemical weathering. That is high temperatures and excessive rainfall. and alternate wet and dry weather. So we have all these conditions here, and these are very conducive for the formation of laterites. So the parent rock in this area is granite or granitic gneiss, and that is subjected to chemical weathering, and the the silica is leached out and comes below. You can see that the white thing as lithomagic clay, and below that's the parent rock. These laterites are hard. Their compressive strength varies from 5 to 40 megapascals, and they are used as bricks in this area. But so it is removed most of the time, and the lithomagic clay is exposed. And this lithomagic clay is a very weak soil. It behaves somewhat like dispersive soil, and it loses its strength on wetting and removal of confinement. So so laterites, uh, you should see that it's laterites, and below that's the lithomagic clay. But when we excavate with excavator, the excavator will mix up this laterite and lithomagic clay. So we have these lateritic soils comprising of the broken laterite and the lithomagic clay. And uh, there are two types. I'll be talking about that. I'll be showing some pictures. When there is more of laterite, it is called lithomagic laterite. And if there is more of lithomart, it's called lateritic lithomart. So this is, okay. So this is a picture that I took it from the Wikipedia, where the laterites are used for construction purposes. They are cut into bricks, and as I said, they are 5 to 40 MPa, and some of them are very hard. If they have iron content, they are called ferruginous laterites, and they are very good, but they are also becoming rare. Now, this laterites, the term was coined by a Scottish scientist called Buchanan in 1807. He was not a civil engineer; he was a botanist and geographer and all that. But he stayed in Kerala and studied a lot of laterites, studied a lot about laterites. And in 1979, there was a geological congress, and at that time, at that time, uh, a, mom, a moment, this monument was erected in his honor. This monument on laterites. Okay, so the laterites, as I said, are available in most parts of in most parts of in most
Professor,
parts of coastal.
can I
Yes, please.
present your PDF, sir, so that it may be easy for you? Can I present your PDF? You
Yeah,
can speak.
okay, fine.
Yeah, you can unshare, sir. I'll just project your PDF I have. So you can tell me next slide. I'll move the slide, sir.
Okay, there are more slides, but I can quickly run through that. Fine.
Yeah.
I think it's not stable here somewhat. Maybe my. Did I?
Yeah, okay, sir. You can just look at, tell me, then I can move the slide, sir. You can continue, sir.
Okay, next one. So laterites are, so this is the monument that was built in his honor, Mr. Buchanan. Next one. Next one, please. Yeah, this is the geographical distribution of laterites in India. Next one. Next one, please. Okay, laterites, they are, can you make it bigger? Okay, laterites, their properties depend upon the climate.
Are
Okay,
you seeing the
their
screen, sir?
property. Yeah, I can see. Okay.
Okay, continue, sir.
There seems to be some problem with the net at my side, perhaps. So it depends on the climate and the parent rock, and they are available from soft to hard, and the strength varies from 5 to 40 megapascals. And although we get plenty of rainfall in this area, about 4,000 millimeters of rainfall. Sorry.
You want to reboot your system and rejoin, sir? All participants kindly bear, trying to fix some technical glitch.
Yeah. Can you see my slide?
Yeah, not yet, sir. Please kindly share, sir. Share ಮಾಡಿ sir, screen share ಮಾಡಿ. ಸರ್ ನನಗೆ ಇಮೇಲ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡಿ ಸರ್, ಐ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಪ್ರೊಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಇಫ್ ಯು.
Oh, just a minute. Can you see my slide?
ನಾಟ್ ಯೆಟ್ ಸರ್, ನಾಟ್ ಯೆಟ್ ಕಮಿಂಗ್. ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಸರ್.
Okay, I will email to you.
ಹೋಯ್ತಾ ಸರ್? ಸರ್ ಓಪನ್ ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅದು. ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಓಪನ್ ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ನಿಮ್ಮದು. Sir, can you please resend, sir? Your file is not downloading, sir. Professor?
Yes, sir. Can you share?
ಇಲ್ಲ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ ನನಗೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯು ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ರೀಸೆಂಡ್ ಸರ್? ನನಗೆ ಕ್ರೆಡೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ, ಅದು ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯು ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ರೀಸೆಂಡ್ ದ ಇಮೇಲ್?
It's not
Send it. Yeah. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಇಮೇಲ್ ಕಳ್ಸಿದ್ ನೋಡಿ ಸರ್, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಡಿ. ಸರ್ ಕಳ್ಸಿದ್ರಾ ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ಸಲಿ?
ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ದೇರ್ ಸಮ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್, ನೆಟ್ವರ್ಕ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್.
ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಇಮೇಲ್ ರೀಸೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸರ್, ಅದನ್ನ ಫಾರ್ವರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ.
Your bandwidth is too low. It is showing only for me or for everybody?
I think my bandwidth is okay, Raghuveer. I think there's some problem with the professor.
Then I have problem at IISc. I think it is prompting, no? That
Maybe.
your bandwidth is low.
Yeah, that's right. ಸರ್, ಆ ಫೈಲ್ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಇಮೇಲ್ಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ ನೋಡಿ ಸರ್, info@sarathijotech.com ಅಂತ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಲ್ವಿ ಸರ್, ಫಾರ್ವರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದನ್ನ.
ಬಟ್ ಪಾಠ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಒಂದು PDF ಫೈಲ್ ಇತ್ತಲ್ಲ?
ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನೇ ಓಪನ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ. ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಸಿ ದಟ್ PDF ಫೈಲ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಹಿ ಹಸ್ ಆಲ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇದು ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ಸ್.
ಓಕೆ.
ಅವರು ಬ್ಯಾಂಡ್ವಿಡ್ತ್ ಲೋ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಫ್ರೀಕ್ವೆನ್ಸಿ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಚಿಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ವಾಟ್ ಐ ಪ್ರೊಜೆಕ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಆನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್. Actually, we tried yesterday. It's all was okay.
The bandwidth is low ಅಂತ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ. Professor's network bandwidth is low ಅಂತ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
Yeah. I think so. He's not able to send the email.
Hello.
ಪಾರ್ಥ,
ಬಂತು ಸರ್, ಬಂತು. Just give me a second. It's downloading. It's downloading, sir.
ಇದು ಸೈಜ್ ದೊಡ್ಡದಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಫಿಗರ್ ಕಂಪ್ರೆಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಬೇಗ
It's already downloading.
ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ ಆದ್ರೂ ನೀವು ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ
ಹಾ
ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕಂಪ್ರೆಸ್ ದ ಫಿಗರ್ಸ್. ಒಂದು ಫಿಗರ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಕಂಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆಲ್ ಫಿಗರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅದು ಫೈಲ್ ಸೈಜ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ even with low bandwidth it can project.
ಒಂದೇ ನಿಮಿಷ ಸರ್, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡೆಡ್.
Hello?
Yeah, it's getting downloaded, sir. Just give me a minute, sir.
Sorry. I came to the second laptop. My first laptop sort of crashed.
ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಸರ್, ಒಂದೇ ನಿಮಿಷ ಕೊಡಿ ಸರ್, ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ.
Okay.
It's almost done, sir. Just 16 MB. Are you able to see the screen, Professor? Sir, ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? Professor, can you hear me, sir? Where can you see the where?
Hello. Now it is viewed.
Yeah.
Visible.
View,
Sir
Professor.
can talk.
Yeah, he can talk.
Professor, you can continue.
Yes.
Sir, I think professor is in participants list.
Yeah. He's coming. Professor.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes. Please tell me which slide, sir. Then I will go to the slides. Sorry to all the participants. There's technical glitch. We have resolved it now. Professor will continue. Sir, please tell me which slide I need to.
Okay, next. Until that
Yeah.
map of India.
Yeah.
Next. Okay. So laterites are spread out all over the coastal areas, east and west coast, and some parts of northeast India. Next one. Next. So this is again a typical Can you go back to typical lateritic lithomagic stratification? You can see the lithomagic clay comes in different colors, very attractive colors. Next one. Next, sir. Next. Okay. So although this area receives very heavy rainfall, we still have a water problem because this laterite doesn't have water retention. It's very porous and vesicular, and it has lot of cavities. Next one. So you will see some cavities in lateritic soils, and here in this area, there are lots of cave temples in laterites. Next one. Next one. So next please. Next, I would like to talk a little bit about the geology of the area and the climate. The climate here it has only 2 seasons, rainy and summer, and there is no winter. And so it's very conducive for the formation of laterites. This area doesn't have not much clay, unlike the other countries. Next one. We know the tectonic moments. Next one. This was one piece of land. The next one, the Gondwana land of Panagia. The next one. So we know there were tectonic moments, and this is the present day. Next one. And the Indian plate is moving towards the Asian plate. Next one. And in the process, the Himalayas is formed. Next one. So so there is this Indian plateau. The plateau also is rising. Although we have sea level rise, the land rise due to the tectonic movements is more, and so we don't have any sea level rise. Although there is sea level rise of 1 centimeter per year due to global warming. Next one. Next one, please. We were doing some geotechnical investigations in the central part of Mangalore, and we found at 15 meters depth this core sample which had lot of pebbles. Next one. Pebbles and other fossils and peaty matter, which indicates that this land was under the sea sometimes, and now the sea has moved away. Next one. Next one. Yeah. So this map, previous one, please. Okay. This shows that although there is sea level rise, the land rise is more due to tectonic movements, and so we called our Malabar coast as the coastline of emergence, whereas the northern Konkan coast, there is a net sea level rise. So all this has a conducive geological situation for formation of laterites. Next one. Next one, sir. Okay, this is another picture of the same lateritic formations with the top laterite, the lithomagic clay, and underneath the parent rock. Next one. So as I was telling, if there is more lithomarge, then we call it as lateritic lithomarge, and while scooping, if we have more laterite, we call it lithomagic laterite. So both of these are lateritic soils, including lithomargic clay and crushed laterite. Next one. Next one. So laterization is a chemical weathering process in which the silica is removed, and this laterite, as I said, is used for construction purpose. The laterites are used for embankments and low-lying areas. Next one. Next one. So it's very important to do a thorough geotechnical investigation. This is a scene of the Mangalore airport. Next one, where the Mangalore airport was built. Next one. In one of our geotechnical investigations, the worker, the laborer, was hitting the bottom of the excavation with a pickaxe, and he heard a hollow sound. And when the engineer got suspicious, he asked them to dig out more. And they found that right underneath one of the columns already constructed, there was a huge hollow cavity there. So a thorough geotechnical investigation is very important in lateritic formations. Next one. Next one. Yeah, next one. So we do some load tests. Next one. Next one. Next. So we did a number of tests on lateritic soils from about 25 sites, and the data I have compiled. Of course, there are many more. Next one. You can skip the next 2-3 slides, the tabular columns. Next. So in summary, the lateritic soils are medium compressible. They have a plasticity index of about 10 to 25, and they have a cohesion of about 20 to 30 kPa and friction angle of 10 to 20 degrees. But the most important thing is that these soils are problematic soils. They behave like dispersive soils and have a high erosion potential. Next one, please. So the chemical composition is this. The laterites have a lot of silica and iron oxide, and the leached out lithomargic clay, that's the silica has been leached out. So the lithomargic clay has about 76% of silica and a lot of alumina. Next one. So we did some UU Traxel shear tests and tried to find out the shear parameters with moisture. So the shear strength parameters are very sensitive to moisture variation. So at high moisture contents, the C and phi values are very low. Next one. We also did some plate load tests, laboratory scale plate load tests, and then it is seen that the fully saturated or submerged soil has very low strength. So it's very important to control the moisture content and also give confinement to the lateritic soils. Next one. Next one, please. Yeah. So these are some of the tests we did, UCC and CBR tests, light compaction and heavy compaction. And we also blended with sand, and after blending with sand, the UCC and the CBR values increased, and also with higher compaction effort, the strength values were higher. So it's important to you can blend it. That means it can be improved somewhat, and then its strength can be increased with suitable stabilizers. Next one, please. Next one, please. I would just like to quickly run through some of the geotechnical practices and problems in this with the use of lateritic soils. Next one. Next one. So as I said, the top crust is laterite, and if you're going for a shallow foundation for lightly loaded structures, it's better not to go very deep, because if you go deeper, you will go because here as you go deeper, the strength reduces, right? The lateritic crust is strong. It acts like a raft, but when you cross that lateritic crust into the lithomargic clay, it's very weak. So it's better to keep the depth of foundation between 1 to 1.5 meters. And as I said, the low-lying areas adjacent to water bodies are filled up with lateritic soils. And in such cases, it's recommended to go for pile foundations. Next one. So landfills, so many of the low-lying areas are filled up with lateritic soil. The major project is the Mangalore Airport. As you know, Mangalore Airport is a tabletop airport, and it's a very critical airport. And there were a number of hillocks, and between the hillocks, the lateritic soil was filled up, and the depth of filling was about 20 to 30 meters. Next one. So you will see a panoramic view of the filled up valley between the hillocks from the top of the fill. So this changed the drainage pattern of the area, but the important thing is that you have to use good lateritic soil, not the lithomagic clay. Next one. So many highway, railway, all projects, even some of the in the midst of the city, the land filling is done. Next one. Yeah, adjacent to water bodies. Next one. Yeah, even in we have a very big refinery, and even in the refinery, the top laterite is removed, and what we have is the lithomagic clay, and many of the storage tanks will have to be supported on lithomagic clay. So there have been some failures and some geotechnical problems. Next one. So even in the bridge approaches, lithomagic clay, this is in a marshy land where there was no ground improvement, and perhaps the compaction was not poor, and after one monsoon, you had this view. Next one. In the Mangalore Airport, the new runway had used lateritic soil subgrade, and it was very well compacted, and it's been performing well for the last 8-10 years. Next one. Yeah, next. Yeah, even the main geotechnical problem in this area is the slope stability of embankment slopes and also excavated slopes. This is again the Mangalore Airport, where although there was good lateritic soil used, but in some patches there were lithomagic clay. And during monsoons, it gets fully saturated and the shear strength reduced, and there were some local failures. Next one. So there are huge excavations, very steep and high excavations, and there's been no geotechnical application here. Next one. Even in state highways, there's a highway at the top. It's a very high, 30-meter high embankment in lateritic soil, and there has been a lot of vegetation. It's a steep embankment, and there have been a lot of trees. Sometimes the vegetation is beneficial, and sometimes it adds to the instability. Next one. Yeah, again, the main problem is having engineered slopes and then controlling the drainage. So this is what happens when it's not done. So there were failures after construction. Next one, please. Yeah, even in canals, there are steep slopes, high slopes, and there is lithomagic clay. There have been failures. The toe retaining walls have not been engineered. The problem here is the lower area belongs to the irrigation department. The upper area belongs to the forest department. There's no coordination, so they cannot have flat slopes. Next one. Yeah, this also is another view of the failure of the toe wall. Next one. Yeah, there have been erosion failures because the soil is highly dispersive and erosive in nature. Next one. Yeah, even in the guard sections, there are some lateritic soils, and there have been slope failures. There are some infrastructures such as these transmission lines. And these sites are very difficult to access because there are plenty of wild animals and also a lot of antisocial elements. But people are working in such environments. Next one. So this is again a slope adjacent to a transmission tower. This is from the lower coastal area to the upper plateau. Next one goes to Hassan. Next one. So why it's important is I was told by the electricity board that if there is any problem or disruption of power, even for 1 hour, every 1 hour disruption will cost crores of rupees. So it's very important to maintain such infrastructure. Next one. And other important project in this area is the Konkan Railway. And earlier this is a railway track. Earlier it was a small mound, and with plenty of vegetation, the rain would fall and flow over it. But now since the excavation is made, the water flows through the soil and also beneath the railway track. And in the initial stages, when the trains would go, there would be mud pumping and the trains were asked to crawl. Usual speed is about 120 kilometers per hour. They were asked to crawl at 10 to 20 kilometers per hour. So, but later, luckily, at this place, the rock was at shallow depth, at 5 to 8 meters. So some stretch of the track was supported on piles. And now it's performing well and the trains are moving at their normal speed. Next one. Yeah, there have been a lot of failures on the canals due to erosion. Next one. So what is required is an engineered slope with berms, typical slope height of 6 meters, berms to 1 to 2 meters, and drains such as bench drains, tube drains, and collection sumps, and having surface protection measures like surface pitching, turfing, or geosynthetics, etc. Next one. So this is again pitching in one of the airport runway. Next one. Yeah, gabion walls are used. Next one. And also turfing is used. Vetiver grass has been recommended. So we did a lot of studies on vetiver grass in this area. Next one. And also there were a number of railway projects and the high embankments, and they wanted underpasses. So so to have these underpasses, either there is a push box technology or the cut and cover method. Next one. In some cases, the railways adopted the push box technology because they didn't want the trains to be stopped even for a day. So so the boxes were pushed. It's similar to what we have in the Indian Institute of Science. Next one. And next one. Next one, please. Yeah, this is inside that push box where the soil comes out and then it's removed. It's a very slow process, but it's an uninterrupted process. The other option is to cut and cover, which was adopted in some stretches in Kasaragod because there was this was a new track being laid. So the slopes were, the cut was made, the tunnel was made, and it was covered. We have a similar underpass in our campus, which connects the eastern part and western part of the campus. And we had adopted this cut and cover technology. Next one. So the slope stability in lateritic formations is somewhat different because the soil is not homogeneous or soil is not zoned. The strength of the soil decreases with depth, and in the lithomagic clay zone, especially in the excavated slopes, there is loss of confinement and it's the low shear strength, and sometimes there'll be vegetation. There's plenty of rainfall. So slope stability should be a combination of geotechnical engineering, hydrological engineering, and bioengineering. Next one, please. In many places, there is vegetation on the slopes. As I said, the vetiver grass is being used now extensively. Next one. And so we made a small study, of course, just to qualitatively see the improvement. Next one. We did some tensile strength on the vetiver root, and we found that it has very high tensile strength, almost 1/16 of the steel. And we also did the direct shear test with these vetiver roots put in place, and then we found that the cohesion is increased. There is an apparent cohesion of about increase of 30%, but the angle of friction does not change much. Next one. That's it. So angle of friction, so root-free soil and rooted soil, the angle of friction is same, but the cohesion is increased. And also we did some studies with the trees. The previous one was turfing with grass. With trees also, sometimes the trees on top or tree in the middle of the slope is not good because it adds to instability. But the tree at the toe of the slope will have some add to the stability. Next one. So so there is a so this is that top region is increased cohesion, and the top horizontal one is the laterite zone. So we tried to combine this and make a small study. Of course, it's not complete because we cannot simulate exactly the nature because there will be so much of vegetation. But the net result is that vegetation on slopes is very advantageous. Next one. The same thing. So we also simulated the ponding at the top. Next one. So these are some of the results. Bare slope would give about 1.2, but turfed slope with tree at the toe would give almost 2.1. So that's a considerable improvement in the bearing capacity. So most of you may be knowing that vetiver grass is a very special type of grass. It grows about 3 meters, and in Kannada it's called lavanchana. The cattle will not feed. It can withstand drought. You see the well. So it's a natural geosynthetic, and the roots will get entwined. That's mostly to prevent the surface erosion. Next one. Yeah, so we recommended that on some slopes in the Konkan Railway, especially at a place near Hatti Angadi. So and the slopes are really stabilized. Next one. Yeah, even you can have some sort of a natural geosynthetic geocoil or geojute to add to the improvement in erosion, prevention of erosion. Next one. So erosion can also be prevented by by having some sort of geosynth. In the case of flyovers, where we have precast units and reinforcement, the joints can have geotextile to prevent the loss of erosion. Next one. So this is an interesting case study. This happened some years back. It's called Kethikal, and it's a small hillock, and the top of that has very good laterite, and so people were attracted to that, and they had quarries, and then they extracted the laterite, and but these quarries were later discarded. So what happened is that the water would accumulate, and earlier the water would flow over the slope, but now after the water accumulated in these discarded quarries, it would flow through the soil and reducing its shear strength. So this is the typical cross section of that slope before failure. Next one. And this slide shows that water would accumulate, and this is only a symbolic representative sketch. And now water would flow through that. And this is the picture after the failure. There was a huge landslide, and at the carp it was nearly 4 or 5 meters. And at the road also, next one, yeah, there was a lot of heaving at the toe. And next one, the road also sank by 3-4 meters, and the affected length was about 105 meters. Next one. So next one. So there was the road had nearly sunk for about 3-4 meters, and this was an important state highway, and so the people could not wait, and they rectified it within overnight. And we did some post-mortem studies. We had some boreholes, and we found that there is a lot of lithomargic clay, and that had got fully saturated and the shear strength was reduced. And we did run some slope stability analysis and found that the factor safety was less than 1. So this was done by one of our research students. So as I said, the soil is very sensitive to moisture variation. And also we had recently published a paper in the Indian Geotechnical Journal on erosion studies. Next one. We did some erosion tests on lateritic lithomargic clay on the same model as Van and Fell. So it had eroding unit and a constant head tank and the overflow container. Next one. So this is that eroding unit. So the central part is where the soil is kept with a pre-drilled hole. Next one. We tested different soils with varying fractions of clay and silt and sand, because we wanted to see the influence of these various fractions on erosion. Next one. So this is the view of the test setup. Next one. So this is the whole erosion test, the sample before testing and after testing. Next one. We measured the quantity of water collected. We measured the quantity of the fines that were washed out, and also we measured the final diameter. And next one. We used equations based on Van and Fell. So we varied the molding water content, the different percentages of various fractions. This is the equation that is used, that the erosion rate is coefficient of erosion into shear stress at any time minus the critical shear stress. Next one. So we could measure the quantity of water, the amount of fines that were washed out. So as I said, we studied various parameters. Next one. And these are some of the other equations for the strain rate and the critical shear stress at any time. These are the typical results. Next one. Next one. I'll just talk about the most important finding. Next one. Yeah, so, previous one, please. So previous one. So we can plot a graph of the erosion rate versus the applied shear stress, and it would be a graph like that, and we can find out the critical shear stress. That's the minimum shear stress required to initiate erosion, and the slope of this line will give you the coefficient of erosion. Next one. So this is a typical result we got. Next one. And there's another term called as the erosion rate index that was introduced by Van and Fell. And so the previous one, please. So the erosion is classified depending on the erosion rate index. Lower the value, higher is the, or extreme, more rapid is the erosion. Higher value of IH, less is the, or slower is the erosion. Next one. So we varied. We studied the effect of water content. These are some of the results. I'll not talk much on that. Next one. Yeah, for different soils, the effect of water content, the effect of compaction on the some samples had more clay content and the M samples had more silt content. Next one. And also the influence of hole diameter. The hole diameter didn't seem to have much influence. Next. This was the effect of critical shear stress on different percentages of sand for the two samples that we tested. Next one. But the most important finding, next, is that we could quantify this one, please. We could quantify the erosion rate with the plasticity index, the plasticity characteristics. That is, higher the plasticity index, the erosion rate index is high, which means it's less potential. But that means the clay samples, that means the lithomorphic clay with higher clay content were less erosive, had less erosion potential than the lithomorphic clay with the higher silt content. So, so we could make a detailed study and relate the plasticity characteristics with the erosion characteristics. Next one. And we found that the lithomorphic clay with higher clay content, the critical shear stress was 200 to 400 Newton per meter square. That means it required higher shear stress to initiate erosion. But silt, that means silt is more erosive. That means lithomorphic clay with higher silt content has lesser critical shear stress. We also made some studies on some electrical resistivity of clays. This is to relate electrical resistivity with the geotechnical parameters. So we used electrical resistivity box like this, and soil was put in this and compacted different types of soils. Like I said, the soils with higher clay content, higher silt content, varying the different fractions, varying the water content. And the next one. Yeah, and we found that this is the typical result we get, the variation of resistivity with water content. That means as the water content is reduced, the resistivity decreases, or in other words, the conductivity increases. And if you have a tangential intersection of the two initial and the later part, and this SL, PL, and LL shown are the shrinkage limit, liquid limit, and plastic limit values obtained by conventional methods. So the tangential intersection very well coincided with the shrinkage limit. So that means this electrical resistivity profile can be used to predict the shrinkage limit in a faster way, because normally the shrinkage limit takes quite some time. Next one. Yeah, these are for different, we blended the lithomorphic clay with different percentages of sand, and so this is the relationship between shrinkage limit of the conventional method and by the electrical resistivity, and there was a very good correlation. And then we also did some studies with contaminated soils to find the effect of contamination on lithomorphic clays. So we contaminated with phosphoric acid. So with can you go back to the previous one, please? Yeah, with different normalities. And next one. And we found that the plastic limit, we plotted the plastic limit and shrinkage limit by the conventional method. And this is the result we got, that at higher normality, the plastic limit will be more than, the shrinkage limit will be more than the plastic limit. This is in contrast to what we are usually known, that the shrinkage limit is the lowest limit. This is from conventional test. Next one. This is from the electrical resistivity. Even from the electrical resistivity, we could get the similar result. Of course, there are a lot of studies done on this by IISc group under Professor Sridharan and all. They say that the plasticity characteristics are affected by the contamination. So contamination will affect not only the strength, but also the plasticity. This is what we are used to know. Next one. But our results seem to say that under certain circumstances, the shrinkage limit is more than plastic limit, or in other words, the soil could be in the plastic limit even at the partially saturated state. So of course, there's a lot more study to be done on this. And so this is again the same profiles for contaminated soils. And as I said, we could get exactly same as in the conventional test. Next. Yeah, so the previous one, please. So we could compare the shrinkage limit from standard shrinkage, that's a conventional test, and from electrical resistivity profile, and there was a very good match. And even that that rare thing of that the shrinkage limit being more than liquid limit was also reflected in the electrical resistivity studies. So next one. So in conclusion, next one, please. I would like to say that previous one. Laterites are products of lateralization, and their properties depend on the nature of parent rock. So laterites, so you should remember that in lateritic stratification, there are laterites. The hard one is laterite, and the broken one and the underlying lithomagically are the lateritic soils. So laterites can be considered as soft rock or hard soil, or highly cemented soils rich in iron and aluminum. The lateritic soils come in different grain size compositions. That is the laterites of our area, but as I said, in some other regions, they're all fine grained soils, and they behave like dispersive soils. They're highly erosive. Our studies found that the lithomagic clays are of medium erosivity, and their properties also change with contamination. As for any other soils, for the good performance of geotechnical structures, need to have good compaction and good drainage, and follow good geotechnical practices. Right. So with this, I conclude my lecture. And again, once again, my apologies for my for the technical glitch from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you for all the participants to be little patient during the technical glitch. It was finally concluded very well. Now I call upon our chapter colleague, Dr. Raghuveer, to propose the vote of thanks. Before that, I will also share the Google link in the chat box. Kindly fill up so that you will get the copy of the recording of these presentations. Raghuveer, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So we are indeed very much grateful to Professor Shivashankar for introducing us this wonderful subject of laterite. So the very fact that no, it is entirely different from other type of soils. No, just you can cut it and convert into a brick and use this amazing material. So we are grateful to Professor Shivashankar for highlighting the importance of this material and what are the various applications. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And we thank Professor Anant Ramaswamy for being the chief guest of this lecture. Thank you, sir. And we thank all other members who attended this lecture. And also thanks to Parthasarthi's colleagues for making this function successful. Thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Anandal. We'll close this session. Thank you.